everybody, welcome back to Movies and That. I'm your host Cody, and today I am going to talk about why I think Friday the 13th Part 6 is the best Friday the 13th movie in the franchise. Now, this is just my opinion. This isn't, speaking for everyone or anything like that. Just what I think and what I've always thought for a very long time here. So, Friday the 13th Part 6, I think it might have been the second or third Friday movie I ever even watched, so that might be why I hold this bias a bit. But with that being said, it's not just the nostalgia factor here. It's like each and every time I watch Friday the 13th Part 6, I'm just reminded why I feel that way. And the reason that I do is mainly three things. So first things is Jason, second is the return to Camp Crystal Lake, and third is the cast of characters that we get. So I think it hits the nail on the head on each of those categories that I just mentioned. So let's talk a little bit about Jason. So this is really the first, iteration of zombie Jason that we get. And you can say he was like that in Friday Part 4, which in a sense, yes, he, was. After the events that happened at the end of Part 3, him getting an axe to the head, him getting hung, and, him walking out of the morgue, right, alive. So I guess you could say he was zombie Jason then, but, he didn't really have the look of a decomposing corpse as he has in Part 6. So, whenever I think of Jason, I tend to think of Part 6, 7, and 8, those movies of him. I'm not necessarily thinking of Part 3 or Part 4 or really even Part 2. No, I'm thinking of those. Not saying that those Jasons aren't great at all, because I really do enjoy those Jasons. I just think this one here is who Jason Voorhees is. This is who, everybody, kind of thinks of, in my opinion, of Jason Voorhees is the zombie Jason version. And they do a great job with that. Him coming out of the graveyard after Tommy comes in and fucks it up and puts the stake through Jason's chest and lightning hits it and he, resurrects like Frankenstein or whatever. And, comes back and he does his thing. And I like the way he looks. I kind of like, he puts on the work gloves and he's got his utility belt and all that stuff. I really do like Jason. I think they nailed what Jason Voorhees should be in a situation like that, or in a movie like that, should I say. Now let's talk about the return to Camp Crystal Lake. So if you're familiar with Friday Part 6, it is not called Camp Crystal Lake anymore. It's called Camp Forest Green. The town is called Forest Green because they changed the name from Crystal Lake to Forest Green to try to wipe the history of Jason and everything that has happened in the past with Crystal Lake and Camp Crystal Lake and Jason Voorhees. So it's Camp Forest Green, but just like Tommy says in the movie, he doesn't know it's Camp Forest Green anymore. It's still Camp Crystal Lake to him, and he's going back and he's going to defend his home, and that's exactly what he does. So from the moment that Jason steps out of the graveyard, he's heading straight back to Camp Crystal Lake, and he's killing anybody that gets in his way, and that's where he arrives. And that's what I like about this movie a lot, is besides Friday the 13th, the original, we don't have Camp Crystal Lake in any of the movies up until this point, up until Part 6. Because in Part 2, it's the camp counselor training facility, or center, whatever you want to call it. Part 3, it's Higgins Haven. And then Part 4, it's like these rental homes, vacation homes on the lake. And that's it. We don't get the camp. So I love how they returned back to that, and they actually brought kids in, because in the first one it was just the counselors kind of getting everything ready to go for the summer and for the kids coming in. No, we actually get the kids in here, so that plays a different role, and actually a quite interesting role, because it's like, okay, so whenever Jason does show up, how is he going to interact with the kids? What's he going to do? And he actually does have I want to say, well, I guess an interaction, yeah, with the little girl Nancy, and he kind of creeps up on her, stares over in the bed, and it's like she's scared to death of him, and I think he's just kind of like seeing. He definitely doesn't want to kill any of the kids. That's definitely established because he could easily have done that. But I think what he's kind of doing is like remembering of him when he was a kid in that same situation. Or not situation, but at camp before he drowned and everything like that. So I think he's kind of remembering that by looking at her. So we get that whole sequence in the movie with the kids and what they do, and they're hiding from Jason whenever it's known that Jason is rampaging through the camp. But yeah, I'm just very happy that they did bring that back in that movie. It was something that I think Friday the 13th was missing, was Camp Crystal Lake, and they did very well on bringing that back. Now the cast of characters. So we got, of course, Tommy Jarvis, Tom Matthews, kills that role in my opinion. He is hell-bent on stopping Jason, kind of like how Dr. Loomis is hell-bent on stopping Michael. This is pretty much the same thing. The only difference is nobody really believes Tommy except for Megan, which happens to be Sheriff Garris, who just thinks Tommy is a complete nut job and needs to just be banished from the town. Megan is Sheriff Garris's daughter. She takes a liking to Tommy pretty much right away, and then they kind of team up as the movie goes on. And then like her group of friends, like it's very like 80s-esque. You can tell like it is made for the mid 80s there. Even with the soundtrack, Alice Cooper and all that coming in there. So they did a great job with the portrayal of that group of friends for the time period that it's in. And Sheriff Garris himself and his, I forget the deputy's name. I forget his name. But they were cool too. They did a great job. And once they finally figure out that Jason is real, Sheriff Garris, he does whatever he can to protect his daughter, the camp, the kids, and all that. And this is, again, kind of where we see Jason as completely supernatural, complete zombie, because Sheriff Garris pumps like 4 or 5 shotgun shots into Jason. He just gets up, and then he moves to his revolver, shoots Jason directly in the head, and Jason just shakes it off, right? And then we get a cool kill with Jason snapping Sheriff Garris as well. But yeah, so it's kind of a quick defense of that movie here that I'm doing, but that's really it. I mean, it just comes down to how Jason looks and is portrayed in this movie, the return to Camp Crystal Lake, and the cast of characters that we get, and then just the overall vibe of that movie, the score, the soundtrack, the way it looks, the way it's shot. I just feel like, whenever I think of Friday the 13th, that's the first thing I think of is Part 6, and it's just because of everything I said there. So that's pretty much it, guys. Comment your thoughts down below. Let me know what you think is the best Friday the 13th in the franchise. Which one really sticks out to you? I know a lot of people say Part 4, the final chapter, and that is my second favorite one. That is right up there with Part 6. So, yeah, interested to hear what you guys have to say. And if you like this video, please like it, share, and subscribe for more. So, thanks, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.